Oh boy, so let's just get the record straight. When you saw the announcement for this, some of you did a double take. How in the heck did Mark get Bill Gates to speak at this group? I know. So, anybody see the TV commercial, The Other Michael Jordan? You remember that at all, anybody? Yeah? So it basically, you know, Michael Jordan, 23, Chicago Bulls, one of the best basketball players ever. This maitre d' is expecting him at the restaurant. And so he's got his new tux on, he's got the best table in the house, everybody's attention waiting for Michael Jordan to come in, and some schlump named Michael Jordan comes in, right? It's a common name, and he's disappointed. So I'm in Phoenix last week. I get off the airplane. I'm going down the escalator, and it's the army of people with their iPads and the signs, you know, with the last names to give a ride to the hotel. And invariably, there's somebody with a sign that says Gates. And so I go up, I say, I think you're here for me. Oh, no, sir, I'm here for Bill Gates. Could you check the paperwork? Well, okay. Oh, welcome to Phoenix. Welcome to my world, all right? So we're going to talk about referrals, and I like that some folks have used the word introduction, which really is what we're looking for these days, and I'll talk to you about that. But I have to start off a little bit with your beliefs and mistaken assumptions, because I don't know about you, I think we're always getting some of our mistaken assumptions cleared up for ourselves, right? We all walk around with limiting beliefs, mistaken beliefs, and then we hear a speaker, we read a book, or we have a good friend that gives us a metaphorical slap upside the head, and we realize we can see things in a little different way, and that creates opportunity for us, right? So I've been in this business for 25 years, but before I was in this business, I started and built a book publishing company, and I got in rather naively. I thought all I would have to do is publish nice books, and I'd send these mailings and these catalogs and these brochures and flyers out to the stores, and they'd order my books, and I'd sell a lot and get rich and live happily ever after, and it wasn't working. And so I hired a consultant, a guy named Gary, came in, and the first words out of his mouth, he says, Bill, I see all these brochures and flyers and everything, but have you actually tried selling these? I said, well, yeah, of course. I've got these flyers, these brochures, these mail. No. I mean actually selling, going to the stores and talking. You mean cold calling? Call whatever you will, but you're going to learn a lot by actually getting in front of people, right? But I had a mistaken belief. Some of you may still carry this around to some degree. You're here because you've kind of let go of some of it. But my belief was that sales is creepy, right? I didn't want to look like that creepy sales guy, right? And none of us want to look like that creepy sales guy. And we are brought up in a culture where salespeople are kind of looked down upon, right? I mean, you know, your mother or father answers the phone and it's a short conversation. Who is that, Daddy? Oh, just a salesperson. Right? These are the messages that we get. And of course you don't want to look like that, and there's no reason you have to look like that to be successful, but that's what was going on for me. So I was hiding behind direct mail. I was hiding behind the catalogs, just like people these days are hiding behind the technology. Hiding behind email, hiding behind LinkedIn, hiding behind all the other ways to reach people, when sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and talk to them and get out and see them, etc. And I'm seeing some heads nodding, so you know what I'm talking about, right? So anyway, I loaded up my car with these books, and I went from store to store to store to try to sell my books. And I had an incredible ability. Some of you share this ability. I could pull up to a store, and without even getting out of the car, just through the vibes in the air, I could tell if they were going to buy from me or not, right? You've experienced that, haven't you? Right? Sometimes I pull away, like, what's the point? I know they're not going to buy from me, right? What's the point? So I'll never forget, I was in front of this kitchen store called Kitchen Cargo in Bethany Beach, Delaware. And because I had a cookbook in my line. And so I'm doing this number on myself. All right, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, sitting behind the wheel, store just opened, manager's busy, better wait. 10:15, customers in the store, now they're really busy, better wait. 11 o'clock. What's that growling sound? Who can sell an empty stomach? Let's get an early lunch, right? Boardwalk fries. 11:30, I'm still stuck in what my friend and colleague, the late great Dave Sandler, called Wimp Junction. And as soon as I say those two words, you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? Because we all suffer from wimp junction from time to time, right? It's a crossroads where fear meets courage, and sometimes we wimp out and sometimes we're courageous, right? And hopefully you just are courageous more than you wimp out. And so I'm stuck in wimp junction, and then something really good happened to me, something I hope happens to you every now and then. I got fed up. Right? I just got fed up. I got disgusted where I was with my business. I was watching my business fail before my eyes because I wasn't willing to do what I needed to do to be successful. You know, the people who are successful in this world are the people who are just willing to do what the less successful people aren't willing to do, right? That's really kind of the common denominator of success. And so I walked into Kitchen Cargo and I made a sale. 6 copies of my seafood book, cleverly titled Hooked on Seafood. Now, 6 copies, not a very large sale, but Kitchen Cargo placed small orders, and that was nice. Fast forward about 6 months. I get a call from an executive with a canned tuna manufacturing company. It seemed he and his wife had been vacationing in Bethany Beach, Delaware. He got into Kitchen Cargo, and he got an idea. Mr. Case, I'd like to know what it takes to purchase a large quantity of Hooked on Seafood. We want to give it away in grocery stores as a premium to help us sell more canned tuna. Can you add some more tuna recipes into the book? Yeah, we can do that. And so it was a long negotiation. It took a while to make this deal happen, just like some of the deals you do. But finally, Bumblebee Tuna ordered 400,000 copies of Hooked on Seafood. And that sale changed my life. First of all, I was the sales rep and I got a nice commission. Second of all, I was the company owner and I got all the rest. And I used the money, built my business, eventually sold it in 1989. Had 25 salespeople working for me at the time. I tell you this story not to impress you. I tell you a story to impress upon you that we're all operating from mistaken beliefs and mistaken assumptions. I'm going to cover a few more for you around referrals to see maybe where a sticking point is for you that is keeping you from being as successful as you'd like to be. So why referrals? You know, Sarah set up really nicely for me. I appreciate that. To summarize the 25 years of my work in this topic around referrals, it really boils down to 2 words, and I've already heard them used. Borrowed trust, right? We borrow the trust in one relationship long enough to earn our own trust in the new relationship. That's the way it works. And with the borrowed trust, when you start out at a higher level of trust, everything gets easier, does it not? And so what happens, of course, is your ability to meet your ideal clients. If you want to shape the types of clients you want to meet, you use the referral process for that, do you not? Because you educate your clients on who you serve the best, on who your product service works best for, and so you shape how you get introduced to people. And of course, higher conversion ratio, and clients will actually follow your recommendations. Why? Because their friend, their colleague used you and followed your recommendations, right? And then, of course, stronger loyalty. Businesses we retain clients longer when we meet them through referrals. And one study I saw showed that a client or a customer that you bring into your business through referrals is 2.5 times more likely to give referrals. Kind of makes sense, does it not? That they'd be a little more predisposed because they met you that way. And so what happens over time as you really commit to this, it takes on a life of its own. It gets easier and easier and easier. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill where it picks up snow and it creates momentum, right? Now, I love this quote from Mark Zuckerberg. We'll call him the king of social media, right? He says, nothing influences people more than a recommendation from someone else they trust, from a friend, right? Here's the king of social media, makes his money on Facebook ads and all the ways they make money, and yet he's saying, let's master the way people really want to meet us, right? How would your next prospect prefer to meet you? I'm not saying what can work. I'm saying, how would they prefer to meet you? Doesn't it make sense that we get good at that? Yeah, and not just referrals, but introductions, right? Why introductions? Is it hard to reach people these days? Yeah, and just hard. It's hard to get on the radar. It's hard to reach clients, let alone prospects. We need to get connected. So even though you're going to hear me use the word referrals a lot tonight, what I'm really talking about is introductions, and I heard a few of you already say that when you get introduced to someone else, right? That's what we need. So when you're talking with clients, when you're talking with prospects, when you're talking with anyone else with strategic alliances, favor the word introductions, because that's what you really want. You want to get connected, do you not? So here's my hierarchy. Now some of you, you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. right? And psychology in high school or college, right? It's shelter, food, water, beer, pizza, Monday Night Football. I think that's the first level, and then it gets better from there. Well, so here's my hierarchy of referrals, if you will. So word of mouth, we should all be getting word of mouth. Everybody in this room, the phone should be ringing, we should get emails. If we're not getting some word of mouth, some unsolicited referrals, then we need to work on that a little bit, and I'll get into more detail on that in a minute. But not usually enough to build the business in the direction at the volume that you want, right? For most businesses, it's not enough. We need to go a little higher. Now, the referral, sometimes referred to as the referred leads, it's call George, use my name. You get it? You get any of those? Yeah. And it's better than nothing, but it doesn't always cut through all the noise, does it? You can't always get them to return that phone call, to return that email. Just mentioning their friend's name usually isn't enough anymore. So then we want a recommendation. Now we want this prospect knowing we're going to be reaching out to them, and we want something good said about us, right? We want a little testimonial for us and on their behalf. And most people want to protect their relationships, so usually they do want to talk to or somehow send a message to that person they're introducing us to. And so that's pretty good. But what I really like is the introduction, right? And Noah was talking about this, right? Where they said a little bit about you and a little bit about the other person. It's, it's an email handshake, is it not? Just as if they walked into the room and they said, hey, meet Noah, meet George, da da da. And that's great, because now we have something it's actionable, right? And we've been connected with those people. Could be in person, could be with an email, could be a text. A lot of different ways to get introduced, right? Could be LinkedIn. But there is a higher level. And the higher level is what I'll call an advocacy. Now we have someone who's not only recommending us, there's a little insistence there. Take his call, take her call, right? It'll be worth a few minutes of your time. It's a great platform, it's a great service. You should take it, you should take a look at it, right? We get that insistence, and they take a stake in the referral. They want to make sure it goes through. Our advocates want to make sure we get connected, do they not? They'll call us up, or they'll shoot an email over and say, hey, did you ever connect with my friend, my associate, etc. And so that's what we're really trying to create. And I'll give you a few ideas of how you can do that as well, so you can move up that hierarchy. So let's examine your mindset around referrals. Let's see if you have any mistaken assumptions or limiting beliefs. And then we'll get very strategic and even very tactical in what we're going to cover here tonight. So, again, have you made that decision to meet people, to build your business the way people want to meet you? Are you hiding behind the technology, or are you meeting people the way they want to meet with you, which is from a recommendation from someone they already trust, right? So we know that the way of the world is meeting people through other people, and the referral, the introduction, is the warm way we get into their lives. Are you dabbling, or are you committed? All of you know what to do with a referral if you trip over it, but very few people are actually committed to this process and try to learn everything they can about it and become a student of the game, as I've been, so they really make it work, and they make it work on a regular basis. Finish this phrase for me: as you give, you receive. It's true in all aspects of our life, is it not? Right? People talk about the law of reciprocity and all that. So to give a referral, to make connections, and I'm not just talking about referrals for other people, for prospects for their business, referring other resources to our clients or colleagues or friends, or just that whole giving and connecting thing. Is there a risk there when we give referrals, when we make connections? Yeah, of course there is, because we never know exactly what's going to happen, because humans are involved, right? And so if you're unwilling to make those connections, to give referrals, do you think there maybe is a disconnect in your ability to create referrals for yourself? I was doing a speech in Nashville in February, and after my talk, I was meeting with a lot of top producers. We had like these 30-minute coaching sessions, and the top guy in the company sits down, he says, Bill, I think I figured it out. I figured out why I'm not getting enough referrals and why I'm afraid to ask referrals. I said, well, lay it on me. He says, I don't like to give referrals. I said, yeah, you figured it out, right? There's that disconnect. So do you see yourself as a connector? Now, my guess is the fact that you're here at a meetup, you probably see yourself as a connector a lot more than the people who don't come to these things, right? And already I saw people trying to make connections for each other, and that's great. And that's, as you give, you get. Sometimes you give over here, and it comes over here. You can't always directly trace it, right? But do you see yourself as a connector? Someone who's making connections for others, and you're looking to get connected yourself, right? You just don't want to give, you want to get too. So you have a referral mindset if you realize that getting unsolicited referrals is a barometer of your referability. Like I said earlier, we should all be getting unsolicited referrals. I was doing a talk a couple of years ago. I'll never forget this guy. He was a little disheveled when he came up afterwards, and he says, you know, Bill, I've been in this business for 20 years, and I just don't get many unsolicited referrals. I don't know, all my clients love me, but I just don't get many. Now, I had to catch a flight. I didn't have time for the therapy that would ensue to help this guy understand that he wasn't as referable as he thought he was. People say, my clients love me, but I don't get any referrals. I say, well, let's talk about what love means to you, right? Because maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? Anybody here familiar with a concept called Net Promoter Score, NPS? Yeah. All right, so a book by Frank Reichel, The Ultimate Question, says that the ultimate question isn't, is your customer happy, is your customer loyal, is your customer willing to recommend you? And that's a pretty good question to ask, but it's not the ultimate question. The ultimate question is, do you have processes and a culture in place to actually tap into that willingness? I work with companies that have high Net Promoter Scores. They brag about their high Net Promoter Scores, and I say, great, how are you leveraging those? What are you doing with those? And they go, huh? Right? I was working with a bank in West Virginia, bragging about their high Net Promoter Scores. And I said, that's great. You got loyal customers. You got customers that are probably talking about you to some folks. That's good. Now, how are you really leveraging that? What are you doing? What's the culture that you've built? And people don't think that's the ultimate question. Not are people willing to do it? Are they doing it? And are you facilitating? Somebody said you installed a customer referral program. Yeah, right? So now you got a program, you got a culture, you're working on it, right? Critical. Most companies never even think about that. So having a process in place. Do you have a process? I'll give you a little bit of a process here tonight. It's like playing pool. So I got the cue ball, the four ball, the side pocket. I'm aiming the cue ball to hit the four ball into the side pocket, trying to make the shot, right? But I'm also trying to do something else at the same time. There's a parallel thought process going on. What is it? What am I thinking about? The next shot, thank you. Right? In pool, they call it the leave. I want to leave the cue ball in position for the next shot. Well, shouldn't that be our attitude towards bringing in new clients? We bring a prospect into our world, we turn them into a client. If it's a win-win situation, that's great. We make the shot, that counts. Right? But if we don't have a process to leverage that, where does the next one come from? Wishing and hoping, not a good plan. For some folks, we need to turn a referral wishbone into referral backbone, I found. Right? So when you have a process in place, what happens is the trust of one leads to the acceptance by many, right? That borrowed trust again, and one person can lead you to 2, and 2 to 4, and 4 to 8, and your business goes exponentially. If you want to create incremental growth in your business, serve your clients well. If you want to create exponential growth, serve them well, and then leverage that service for introductions to other people. Right? Do you believe that asking for referrals is safe or risky? Most people believe it's risky. That's why they don't do it. Mistaken belief, limiting belief, right? And think about it. If you feel awkward in the asking for an introduction to someone you know they know, you could be sitting with them over a meal, they could be talking about colleagues, other businesses they know, and you'd love to get introduced to those folks, but you believe that it's not safe to go into that area. Guess what happens? You walk away not asking, right? You miss that opportunity. I want to show you that it can be very safe to do that. Please remember this. And where's the gentleman who came up to me, did a lot of cold calling? You may not feel this way because you've been doing it for a long time, but for most of us, I think you can relate to this. Cold calls are God's punishment for failure to get enough referrals. If you know anybody in cold call hell, just send them to Bill Cates' referral coach, right? So, you want to get that on the slide? Yeah, I can send you the PowerPoint if you want.
Yeah, but you'll be it.
All right, good. All right, so let's have a little fun with this. I leave this one blank to have some fun. I blank to get referrals. Call it out. What fits here for you?
Love.
Love. It's always love or need. That's good. What else fits here?
Want.
Want. Good. What else?
Need.
Live.
Need. Live. Yeah, good. Sometimes I hear beg. Give to get referrals. This man was paying attention. Right? That's good, right? He already watched some of my videos online. He's been stalking me. I'm a little bit not sure about this guy. Would you welcome me to my car when we go out?
That's 32C, right?
Yeah, thanks. Exactly, that's exactly where I am. Where was I? Oh, so, sometimes I hear beg. No begging zone. Sometimes I hear forget. I forget. When someone tells me they forget about the referral process, you know what they're telling me? They just lack the confidence, right? This isn't rocket science. This is just about confidence. And so here's a little barometer for you around your confidence, fear, or lack thereof around referrals. Let's say you go on a visit with a happy client. They love you, they love the work you do, right? All that good stuff. And you think, they know some people. I know a couple people that I'd love to get introduced to, right? And so you go on a meeting and then you run out of time. And a little voice inside goes, whoopee, off the hook. I'll ask next time. If you ever go into a meeting wanting to leverage that, wanting to talk about introductions, and you feel relieved that you didn't, now you know fear just managed the appointment for you, right? You went down little paths, little, things that you didn't have to, but you just unconsciously kind of let that happen, right? So let's try this word on for size. I expect to get referrals. Nod your head if you agree with this next statement. Going into any situation expecting a certain outcome increases the chances of that outcome happening. True?
Yes.
Of course it does. Doesn't guarantee it, but increases the chances. Right? You think of Olympic divers. So the Olympics this summer, right? He or she goes, they has a diving board, they look down, they close their eyes, what are they doing? Visualizing, expecting. I'd be praying personally, but they're visualizing, expecting, right? And so athletes do it, musicians do it. We know that there's power in that expectation. Our brains change. The wiring actually changes over time when we have those expectations. So is that your attitude? I like to refer to it as confident awareness, meaning you're confident in the work you do. You provide value to your clients. That's good. If you haven't gotten in touch with the value that you bring, well, work on that, because that's where this is all coming from. This isn't about your neediness and trying to build your business. This is all about the value you bring to your clients and the people they know that can also experience the value, right? So that's where that's coming from. So that's the confidence, and then the awareness of the people that they know. From the minute you meet someone, I was talking to Joe a little bit, right? As soon as you talk to someone, just in your rapport building stage, how'd you get started in the business? Where'd you work before? How long have you been in the area? Just get to know people a little bit, and all of a sudden you're going to learn about other people in their world that when the time is right, you might be able to ask for an introduction to those people, right? So we're paying attention, confident awareness, expectation, dabbling versus commitment around referrals and introductions. So your new mantra from now on, the way you think, if I would recommend to you, every morning you wake up and you say to yourself, who am I going to be introduced to today? Right? Who am I going to be introduced to today? And if you work in an office with other salespeople, start making this part of the culture. Who are you going to get introduced to today? Who did you get introduced to today? If you're going out on an appointment, come back. Who did you get introduced to at the appointment, right? Have you identified someone they know that you might be able to ask for an introduction? Right? That's the mindset, that's the thinking. And of course, we know the power of awareness. We know the power of shifting our awareness. We start to see things that we didn't see before, right? When we shift our awareness. When I decided to get a fence in one of my homes, I put a fence in a home 20 years ago now, but I didn't know anything about fences, so I started looking at fences, right? And then I bought a fence, put it in. For the next 3 years, all I saw was fences. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I could have had that one, right? I don't like that one. I get better, right? That's what our awareness does. We see opportunity that we didn't see before. So that's your new mantra around this, all right? So let's talk about who gives referrals, what it takes to become referable. And this study was done by Julia Littlechild in Toronto, Canada. And she looked at satisfied clients, satisfied customers, pretty loyal. Satisfied customers, satisfied clients are loyal, but there's actually a low correlation between satisfaction and referrals. Only 20% of the satisfied clients gave referrals in the preceding 12 months. So what do we need? We need engaged clients. 100% loyalty, and 98% of engaged clients gave referrals. So we need to make sure we're not just looking for satisfied, happy, loyal clients, we're looking for engaged clients. So you're thinking, all right, well, that sounds good. What's an engaged client? Well, it's probably pretty simple, and you're already doing it to some degree already, right? And that is they see your value, they get in touch with your value proposition, and they kind of like you a little bit, and they trust you, and you have to have both going on, do you not? If someone sees your value but doesn't like you, are they going to refer you to someone else? Probably not, unless your value proposition is so good, they'll say, well, he's a little quirky, but it's a good product, right? I just do not have that kind of referral if I can help it, right? And then if they like you, but they don't see your value, are they going to refer you? Probably not. So from now on, from the minute you meet a prospect, and you take them on as a client, and you serve them ongoing as a client, think in terms of connecting on both levels. Now, we have a lot of folks here in the software industry, and software folks tend to be, analytical folks, generally speaking, not all of them, right? My dad was, he built the first computer for the Veterans Administration, right? Of course, the first computer took up a room this big, all right? But he was a statistician, analytical, all right? Don't ever ask him for a referral, I can assure you that. So what we need to do is make sure we engage on both levels, the level of the value and the level of the individual. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to introduce you to 3 words that can really make a big difference for you if you really apply these. And so the first word is leverage. The first word is engagement. I've only been doing this 25 years, but I had a cider, I guess it's affecting me. So the first word is engagement, right, which means referability. Next word is leverage. How do we leverage that engagement? How do we make sure we get those introductions? And the third word is connection. How do we get connected? So I have 3 places to become super referable, and I'll go into detail with one of these in a minute, but essentially I've identified the 3 spots as the prospect experience, which could also be called your sales process. We want to make sure that we have a prospect experience or a sales process that not only results in the sale, but also makes us referable at the same time. So we don't have to wait a long time, right? Then we want to have a new client experience, an onboarding process, so they feel onboarded, welcome into our world, that makes us even more referable early on in the relationship. And then the ongoing client experience, how we're staying in touch with those folks in an ongoing basis, right? And then the leverage part, promoting referrals. I'll teach you how to do a little bit of that tonight. Asking how to do it without looking like an over-aggressive life insurance agent. And I work with a lot of life insurance agents, and I tell them the way they've been taught how to ask referrals is to polluted the waters for the rest of us, because we don't want to look like that, right? And so I teach them a different way. And then social event marketing, which is a whole other thing. We can spend another hour or 2 on that. And then the connection, getting introduced, setting the appointment. How you set appointments from the referral process, when you get a referral, it's different than how you set appointments from people that come in through internet leads or some other way that you've been in touch with them. And of course, eventually we acquire the client, we make the sale, and then what happens? If in the process of acquiring the client, we create that sense of engagement, it continues and it goes over and over and over again. You truly can create a continual flow of new clients coming into your business through referrals if you just follow these 3 basic principles. So let's drill down a little bit deeper. Let's talk a little bit about your prospect experience, your sales process, because a lot of people don't think they can become referable quickly. The product has to be delivered, the service has to be rendered, then they have to use the service for a while, and then they're referable. I'm telling you, you can become highly referable with a lot of people if you bring the right process to bear in the first place, right? So, here's one thing. We were talking about this with where's No Badge Tim? Is Tim still with us? He must have to leave. He said he got his money worth just from the little consultation thing I was doing with him, so maybe, or maybe I scared him away. So I just call this the here to there conversation. It's a really simple thing, but it's a way for you to bring value within the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of a conversation. I was looking at software not too long ago. It was like late last week. It was last Thursday, actually. My manager of digital marketing was on the phone with me when this guy was using a Zoom thing to demonstrate his software. And he didn't ask any questions. He just launched into the demo. An hour later, he's done with the demo. Halfway through the demo, he's saying, well, I'm not sure if this relates to you or pertains to you, but let me show you this feature. Hello. How about asking a few questions to know who you're talking to, right? So everybody has a gap, right? You're in business because your clients have a gap. Or they have a gap before they meet you, right? The gap is in related to the work you do, right? They're not getting enough sales from their inside salespeople. There's a gap there, right? So it's our job to figure out the gap, for ourselves and for them, sometimes they don't even know that there's a gap or what the gap looks like. So what is there here, right? What does it look like now? So I was on the phone earlier today with a company out on the West Coast, and first thing I said, I have a little process I like to go through. It's 4 questions, if you don't mind. It'll help me learn a little bit about your situation, make sure I can tailor my remarks and other questions to your situation. I think you actually might find it useful. Will you indulge me? And they go, well, sure, of course. Right? So I let them know I got a process. I foreshadow the process. I announce it. It's transparent. I'm not trying to hide a process. Right? Nobody likes that anymore because they feel like you're working them. Right? Just tell them you have a little process that you think will make this conversation more productive. And you can even foreshadow that before the phone call. You can say, by the way, when we get on the phone next Tuesday, I have these 4 questions I'd like to start with, if you don't mind. It'll help us have a more productive meeting. And who doesn't want to have a more productive meeting, right? And so I find out what they're here is, what it looks like, right? What's working, not working around, in my case, it's referrals, introductions. And then you want to talk about what their there looks like. Now, for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different, but it could be, if you could wave a magic wand over this issue, what would the solved problem look like? What would be happening now, right? That's not happening, or then it's not happening. Or you could say, let's just imagine we're meeting a year from today. What has to happen in that year when we get back together for you to feel good about your situation around this? Or it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, whatever fits your situation, right? And so, would you agree that some people have pretty clear on what they want it to look like? They know what's possible, they know what they want, and some people are clueless. They don't even know what's possible around the work you do. And so what happens is when you help them get clear on what their here looks like and clear on what their there looks like, that alone is helpful, is it not? You've already helped them in the first few minutes of this phone conversation. And of course you want to know what the opportunities are. They know about things coming down the pike. They could have some RFPs out for bid that you don't know about. There could be all kinds of things going on that you're not aware of. You probably know about some opportunities they can take advantage of based on the work you do that they're not aware of, right? And then the same thing with challenges. They know some things coming down the pike, and you know some things that they might not even realize that they're going to encounter. And so that becomes the plan to work together, right? It is now your job to help them get from here to there. And you figure out what the challenges are, you figure out what the opportunities are, you figure out what the goal is. That's it, that's the plan. And even if you don't sell them a product, you have become referable. Your process has made you referable. Is that making sense? Right? We want to bring value that not just helps us make the sale. People are using spin selling and challenger selling and this selling and that selling and this selling, and that's great. We all need a sales process. But if we don't do it in such a way that makes us referable, at the same time, we're missing a huge opportunity, aren't we? We're missing the opportunity for exponential growth because we want to leverage that trust that we built. Now, another thing that will help you connect very quickly in your new relationships, remember we want to connect on the level of value and we want to connect on the level of who we are. And that is to talk about why you do what you do. Now, I'm not talking about the fact you love technology, you love this or you love that, love real estate, love sales. I'm talking about a client-centered why, right? So my guess of you is most of you here have a certain passion for what you do. I hope you do. It might have been why you got into business, right? It might be something that happened to you early on in the business, and you go, wow. They trusted me and it really worked, right? I don't know about you, but when I first got started in business years ago, wow, people are trusting me. What am I doing? The people are trusting me, right? And so it's that aha, that wow. You want to talk about that. You want to talk about why you do what you do, why you work for the firm you work with, why you started the business if you're a principal in the business. People will listen to your why differently. They will listen to this differently. If you go through the litany of features of a product or features of your company, that's good. You got to talk about that. I'm not saying you don't talk about it. But when you shift gears and you say, let me tell you a little bit about why I do what I do, people listen differently. And then they connect with who you are. And then they let you in more for more questions and more answers. So I was working with a financial professional on the West Coast, and she said she heard a webinar I did around this, and she was starting to get referrals from prospects without even asking. name's Carol Upshur, and I called her up, said, Carol, tell me what you're doing. I want to, we can learn from each other. She says, well, Bill, I just started telling people why I'm in this business. My husband and I, we had made some bad financial decisions, got bad advice. We finally got our act together, and I became a financial advisor, and I tell my prospects. I say, do you do it on the first meeting? She says, yes, absolutely. I tell my prospects, it's my mission to make sure that never happens to them. And now she's getting unsolicited referrals. How many of you here, just by show of hands, talk about your why you do what you do? Anybody? No? Yeah, a lot of you, good. Do people listen to that differently? They do, don't they? Because there's usually a little story involved, and you're usually revealing a little bit about who you are. And when you reveal a little bit about who you are, you know what happens? They reveal a little bit about who they are, do they not? And the onion, the layers start to peel. When you talk about your why, they will talk about their why and their motivations. And this is a powerful way to connect with people. So here's the deal. People, all things being equal, people do business with people they like and trust. All things not being equal, people do business with people they like and trust, right? That's the power of referrals and introductions and creating these engaged relationships, because we could not be the cheapest solution in town, but if they like us and trust us, that's worth a lot of money to them, right? Because it's safe, it feels good, right? So, connecting. Now, we don't have time to cover everything, but a little bit on new client experience. And that is, do you have an onboarding process? In other words, do you have a checklist of whenever you turn a prospect into a client, there's certain things that just happen automatically to every single new client. And everybody in the firm who's a part of that checklist knows that. There's usually someone who manages that checklist and makes sure all those things get delivered. And again, we're connecting on both levels of value. It could be something that we teach them and something we mail to them that's educational. Maybe we have an educational event, a users group, if it's software-based, or maybe we send a book related to their hobby, their dog, or their next vacation. We're connecting on both levels at the same time, but it's an onboarding process, and they feel onboarded into your family. And then the ongoing experience, having a client service model, a client service plan in place, right? So my guess is that your software will not just help the sales process, but once the sale is made, it can now start to trigger client service encounters, can it not? And most people don't have a plan. They don't have a software in place where they program how often they want to be in touch with these clients. You wing it. When you wing it when it comes to client service, your clients can tell. They really can tell. Unless you have a service that just naturally warrants ongoing relationship, like if you're a wellness coach, right, where you're talking to someone on a regular basis and it's part of the relationship, if you don't have that in place, then you better have a plan in place to make sure you reach out to these people, right? Studies have shown, by the way, that if you don't reach out to a client or customer within a year to keep the relationship engaged, after about a year, if decision time comes to change, to switch, to stay with you, they're about 50-50 that they're going to stay with you. Right? We got to have that plan in place. I like to call it a client service promise. Think about it. If you're talking to a prospective client and say, here's how we're going to stay in touch. This is what our client service model looks like. Well, that's not bad. That's good. Talk about it. But what if you said, let me tell you about our client service promise. Do you hear the difference in that word promise? In that word promise is the word commitment. It's got a little more emotional oomph to it. So I like to call it a client service promise. By the way, actually I'm not going to talk to you about that because that's a competitor to somebody in the room. So we're just going to let that one go. So no need to make enemies. So let's talk promoting referrals, asking for referrals, social event marketing. Promoting referrals. This is a way to get referrals without even asking. We're not asking, it's short of asking, but we're still starting to be proactive, right? So one thing to say, never too busy to see if I can be a resource, right? For your colleagues, for your friends. Just letting people know you're open for business. That's important. And I have this picture because sometimes we show up really busy, right? And when we show up really busy, what unconscious message are we sending to our clients? We're too busy to take on more people, right? So you have a client you've made business friendships with, that's great, and they say, how's your day going? Oh man, I just cannot believe how I am slammed today. Unconscious, too busy for me to send anybody their way, right? So we got to counterbalance that a little bit. I've been teaching this for years. I didn't create it, but it's a great thing to say. Don't keep me a secret. Simple little thing. Goes in their unconscious. Later they're talking to a friend, a colleague, somebody who maybe should know about what you do. And that don't keep me a secret kicks in. Right? I've seen people get referrals right on the spot from this. Now, don't keep me a secret. There's a little smile at the end of that, is there not? It's a little bit, it's like kind of a fun thing to say, right? Hey, please, don't keep us a secret out there. Okay, I won't, right? So if you don't have a sense of humor, don't use this one. But is it going to hurt the relationship? Are you going to say, hey, don't keep us a secret? I can't believe you said that. I'm moving my business. No, of course not. The worst thing you'll hear, sure, we'll keep you in mind. That's the worst thing you'll hear, right? Teach people how you would handle a referral, an introduction, if they made it, right? So, Mitch, can I pick on you for a second? I just need a friendly face. And I know that Mark has some books here. I've got another book. It's called Don't Keep Me a Secret. I just want to give it to you for letting me pick on you and for you stalking me. And when I'm done, I'll sign it. And the day I die with my signature, it's worth twice as much as what you paid for it. And no, if you read the sucker, actually it could be worth something. But nonetheless, so it goes something like this. You know, it's something I just want to run by you real quick. A lot of our clients like to introduce what we do, our solutions to other people. And I just thought that opportunity ever presented itself to you. It'd be good for you to have a sense of how we'd handle it, what it would look like. You know, we treat this sort of thing with great care, meaning I don't like to call people from out of the blue and surprise them and make them wonder, why did Mitch give my name out to this guy? Nobody likes to get that kind of call anymore. I like to work through introductions. So you and I, if you identify someone, we'll talk, we'll craft an approach that feels comfortable. Could be an email handshake, maybe I'll take the two of you to lunch, whatever seems appropriate. But whatever we do, we're going to handle it with great care. How does that sound? Good? Now, have I asked them for referrals? No. Did I plant the seed? Yeah. Please make sure that everybody you do business with knows what it would look like if they did think of someone. Because one of the reasons why people don't get referrals is because they don't know what it's going to look like. How are you going to process that, right? And so it's an unknown, so it's a risk. And so sometimes they've had a bad experience sometimes, and they don't want to replicate that. So just talk about it. Sometimes you'll learn about the relationship to the referral process. Maybe they did have a bad experience. Good to know. They'll tell you, right? Don't be like the other guy. Okay, I got it, right? I've seen this one turn the referrals right on the spot because you're just introducing it into the conversation, and now it's there, and the awareness is there, and sometimes without even asking. Please make sure you teach everybody what it would look like, how you handle it. This is something you can have on your outgoing voice message, right? You're on a sales call, you're at a meetup like this, whatever, they're getting your outgoing voice message, right? Please leave a message at the tone. If you refer to us, please let us know who we need to thank. Now, everyone who calls you gets the message that you do work from referrals introductions. In fact, you get so many, you got to have it on your voicemail, right? What does it do? It sends the message to them, to you. Getting referrals introductions is not just asking. I think you can see that now. It's a culture. It's a culture that you build within yourself, within your company, within your clients, right? It's a culture that we build. Any questions bubbling up real quick while I just kind of take a breath? No? Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to confuse promoting with asking. So let's get into asking. And if we're going to talk about asking for referrals, don't you love this dog? No begging allowed, though. I just had to put my dog down 2 weeks ago, so it's sad, it's sad. Anyway, so let's talk about why people don't ask for referrals. Let me ask you, why do you think most people don't ask?
Fear.
Fear of?
Rejection.
Rejection?
I want to be like my insurance agent.
Don't want to be like your insurance agent, right? Have you told them that? Probably not. Maybe you have, right? Right? And of course, we know that if we're afraid of rejection, we're in the wrong business, but our fears come up in different ways in different places for all of us, right? I know people can cold call till the cows come home because they don't mind being rejected by someone they have no relationship with. But once there's a relationship there, all of a sudden that Wim Junction kicks in, right? So there's no question about it, it's fear. And so when I get up in front of people and start to tell them, I'm going to teach them how to ask for referrals, they go, no, please don't give me, I don't want to ask that stuff, I can't do that. Ah! Right? Look, you're confident, you're smart, you're cocky, a couple of you downright arrogant. No, One of the guys left, but no, I'm kidding. But when it comes to asking for referrals, you turn into a bowl of quivering jello, right? All of a sudden, these confident, smart, successful people, it's like, can't go there, right? You make it mean too much, right? Some people give you referrals, some won't. I want to get through this. Here's some of the fears that I've identified. You don't want to hurt the relationship. You don't want to look needy, unsuccessful. I get that. The rejection one. Let's handle rejection real quick. Please raise your hand if any point in time in your career you've ever asked for an introduction and actually got one when you asked. Anybody? Please raise your hand. It's almost every hand, right? We know we can ask and get. Raise your hand if you ever asked, didn't get when you asked, but that same person gave you a referral or introduction later when they were ready. Anybody experience that? Yeah. Next time you talk to them, they say, hey, I think I got somebody for you, right? Please raise your hand if you've ever had a client fire you because you asked for an introduction. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never had a hand go up. Let's lighten up on this. We are not going to lose clients. The worst thing they're going to say is, nah, can I think about it a little bit? Sure, right? That's the worst thing that's going to happen. And then we plant the seed, we put it in the conversation. In fact, my real name is Bill Nostradamus Cates. I can predict your future. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you every single time you ask. Are you ready? Sometimes you'll get them on the spot. We've shown that can happen. Sometimes you'll get them later when they're ready. You have some clients you could run into a burning building and say their children, they wouldn't give you any referrals. But they're not going to stop doing business with you, right? Worst case scenario, they do it later. I've had people say, I don't give referrals, and then 3 years later they say, I know I told you not to do this, but I got somebody you can help, right? They do it on their own terms. So let me very quick introduce you to the VIPS method. I'll just give you a little bit of this, what we have time for. The value discussion probably is the most important thing that I teach. I've been teaching this for 25 years. This will create that sense of engagement for you. This will also help you get referrals without even asking for them. It's checking in with our prospects, with our clients. Most businesses do not check in very well. I check out of a hotel, which is pretty frequently. How was your stay? Take my car into the shop. I get a call from the dealership a couple days later. How was the service experience? Except for, I don't get that call anymore. What do I get now? An email. That one thing that had them try to create an experience with the customer, they've now automated. And it takes away the whole value in the first place. It's very short-sighted. And so a couple years ago, I decided to buy a hot tub, and I went into a jacuzzi dealership, and I met Alex. And I brought a copy of my book, I think it was my other book, Get More Referrals Now, and I gave it to him, and he looks at it, and he goes, you wrote this book? I go, yeah. He says, referrals, I could use more referrals. So you're gonna is this for me? I go, yeah. I said, so you can teach me how to get more referrals, and I'll teach you about hot tubs? I said, yeah, that's the deal. He said, oh, that's great. So for the next 45 minutes, we're talking hot tub sales skills, referrals, hot tub sales skills, right? And 45 minutes in, he says, Bill, based on this conversation, I was thinking now would be a good time to go for the close. What do you think? I said, Alex, give it a shot and see what happens. So I bought a hot tub, and I took delivery on the hot tub. And I never heard from Alex again. And I'm thinking, we had this connection, right? And if there's somebody in this plan that you might ask referrals, this guy's written 5 books on the topic, right? And who's not going to be happy with a hot tub, right? So why do people not check in? Well, I think sometimes they're afraid of negative feedback, right? They're afraid that maybe something didn't go right and they don't want to hear it. Boy, is that bad thinking, right? Would you agree that a relationship that's had a problem that's been handled well is a stronger relationship than one that's never had a problem? Hello? So we should go looking for the problems. Why? Because we show people what we're made of, and we're going to create a stronger relationship, and we're going to be more referable because of that. Right? When we go through an ordeal with them and we're there for them, they see we're not running away, man, they're with us for a long time because of that. Right? So some people just they don't make it part of their checklist to do. They don't think about it. They don't realize the importance of leverage. So that I is treated with importance, which is really just be confident, be present. Permission to brainstorm or explore is just making it a collaborative process. I have a card actually that kind of gives you the details. Since you got a book, could you just make sure everybody gets one of these cards? And it gives you the VIPS right on the card. And the S is suggest names and categories. What I mean by that is come prepared. Don't wing it. Have you ever fallen into this trap? Who do you know we can help? And it usually fizzles. right? I don't know, give me some cards, right? So the bullseye is specific people. That's the most powerful place to go with this conversation. People you've identified in their world that you know they know. How do you feel about introducing me to so-and-so, right? I just asked for one of those today, for an introduction into a large insurance company. I said to my client, I said, I know her name is Kelly, I don't know her last name. Oh, that's Kelly so-and-so. I said, how do you feel about introducing me to her? Be happy to. Right? It's as simple as that, right? So that's the bullseye. That's where you're going to feel more confident and get some pretty good results. The next ring would be LinkedIn, lists, directories. This is good. You can certainly use LinkedIn to create opportunity. But please, if you identify folks on LinkedIn that are connected to your clients, pull it off of LinkedIn. Don't try to make it all happen in LinkedIn. You're just hiding behind a technology and it won't be as effective. Get on the phone. I see you're connected to so-and-so. In person, of course, is always better. If you can do that, if you can swing it. If you're targeting certain niche markets, by the way, that's where LinkedIn is even more powerful, and other lists you can create. Categories of people that are the types of people that have their radar up for the service that you provide, right? All of you here should be able to identify the characteristics of a good prospect. What are the things that are going on in their business, in their life, in their mind, right? And those are the people the categories of people you can suggest. And then you can kind of open it up and say who else, comes to mind. But don't start with who comes to mind. Start specific and then branch out. The whole point of this is try to help them picture people in their mind's eye, right? If I said to you, don't think of a pink elephant, everybody just thought of a pink elephant, right? If I say those folks you play golf with or the people you grew up with, your closest friend from childhood, you picture people in your mind's eye, and that's what we're trying to do here, is create that picture, right? So by the way, if you want these slides and you'd like to get this report, just give me your business card and I'll mail you the slides. Some of you have been taking pictures on the slide. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I'll also get you this report that'll go into a little more detail on the VIPS. All right. So just make sure I get or if you don't have your card, you gave them all out, just give me your email and legible, please, so my assistant can read it and we can get you in and do. Have fun with this, right? I'm going to wrap this up with this. Have fun with this. Why? Because everything gets easier. Art's a sales rep in Baltimore. When he's with his clients, he says, we're just brainstorming here. I'm looking for about 100 people. And his clients go, 100 people? I don't even think I know 100 people. All right, too many. How about 4 or 5? Now that's not so bad, right? Now that's his style, that's his sense of humor. I'm not saying you're going to do that, but I know a financial advisor in Omaha. I mean, this is perfect for an advisor, right? He says, well, we're just brainstorming here. Do you know any lottery winners? Right? Perfect. Clients laugh. No, but we play every week. Okay, good. When you hit it, I'll be there for you. Right? I got a call from this guy, Edwin, invented a game. He called it Referral Tic Tac Toe. He says, Bill, you're going to love this. I go, okay, run it by me. He says, well, I tell my clients, I get permission to brainstorm a little bit. They say, sure, and I draw a tic-tac-toe grid, and the client has no idea what I'm doing. And I say, what about your ex-business partner, Bob? You still in touch with him? Would you feel comfortable? Oh, yeah, I could do that. And then I think you said your sister Sue owns a business, yeah? He says, there's power in the grid. People don't like an empty box. Right? At least until they get a tic-tac-toe. When he called me, he says, Bill, I did it with a client on the phone yesterday. He loved it. He says, that was fun. Can we play again? You got, I don't know, 3 grids, 27 referrals or something. So look, I had time to kind of give you a glimpse into what's happening here around this referral. I think you can see it's not rocket science. It really is just having a process and a commitment in place and willing to dissolve some of your mistaken thinking and just becoming a student of the game and figuring out, how would someone prefer to meet you? I'm not saying what can work sometimes. I'm not saying what is your path of least resistance. 32,000 emails a day, right? I'm talking about what is your prospects and clients' path of least resistance to you. That's what we need to be thinking about. I'll be hanging around. If you have any questions about your specific situation, please come on up or shoot me an email. Bill Cates, no, not Bill Gates. Bill Cates at referralcoach.com. I'm here to help. A friend of Mark and Sarah's a friend of mine. I'm done. Thank you very much.